This is one of the hardest materials to forge on Forged in Fire, the coiled small spring. The forging process is not just difficult, even a small mistake can easily cause deformation and cracking. It's the nightmare steel that contestants fear the most. As soon as this round began, the show's team launched a hellish challenge right away, dumping a whole pile of small springs. Contestants were required to use the small springs as raw material to make a unique short blade within 3 hours. The total length of the blade must not exceed 55 centimeters. The edge length should be between 25 and 30 centimeters, and the tang, blade root, must have a lacing heart design. When the host announced the start of the competition, everyone hurried to get to work. Alex, Mike, and Andrew, all three chose metal cans without hesitation. They planned to fill the cans with small springs and show off their Conforged Damascus skills. First, Alex took a clear lead in progress. After filling the metal can with small springs and steel powder, he started welding right away. Then he put the can into the fire to heat it. Once the heat treatment was done, he quickly used a press to forge the steel billet, but maybe he was in too much of a rush. The next moment, an accident happened soon after. The red-hot steel billet was pressed and cracked on the spot. Faced with this sudden problem, he didn't panic at all. He made a quick decision to reheat the billet and forge the steel billet again. Later, he also carefully cut off the cracked part. After getting the ideal steel billet, Alex officially moved to the next stage and started forging the blade shape. Andrew also chose a metal can, but his steps were much more careful. He first applied the release agent. While waiting for the release agent to dry completely, Andrew heated the small springs until they turned red and stretched them out. But right after filling the can, a key problem popped up. He didn't know how to use a welding torch. Staring at the can that wasn't welded and thus couldn't be heated, Andrew had to rethink his forging plan. On the other side, Mike used a blowtorch to stretch the small springs quickly. With a series of smooth moves, he finished filling the metal can in no time. Amid the flying sparks, the welding of the can was done right after. Then, he put the metal can into the fire officially to heat and forge it. Unlike the other three contestants, Bell abandoned the idea of Conforged Damascus. Instead, he decided to gather multiple spring wires together, add mild steel to them, and try a three-piece combined forging method. First, he put the small springs into the fire to heat them. Then he used tongs to stretch the spring wires. With a series of skillful moves, the wire, which was curled like instant noodles, stretched out quickly. The process went very smoothly, but right after that, things got out of control during the next step. After heat treatment, the spring wires actually clumped together into a ball. Bell was a bit frustrated about this, but considering the tight time, he had to bite the bullet and move on to the next step. He fixed the spring steel with tongs, then picked up a pair of hammers and forced the mild steel into shape by hammering. When it came to making mistakes, Andrew, after failing at welding, quickly switched his approach. After heating and straightening the small springs, he twisted multiple curved wires together. Then he used a hand hammer to forge the steel, planning to make a three-piece blade with mild steel. A few minutes later, Mike also ran into a problem. After removing the can, the steel billet didn't fuse perfectly. Looking at the bad failed piece in front of him, the unwilling Mike decided to try to fix it. Mike heated the steel again, then used the press for a second round of forging. The next moment, to everyone's surprise, the treated steel billet actually fused. This last-minute rescue left the judges greatly impressed. Just then, Andrew also forged a blade blank, since he had to modify the three-piece design with mild steel on the spot. The blade he made was a bit thin, but luckily, it was still a decent finished blank. Next, Andrew turned on the belt sander and started carefully grinding the blade blank, preparing for the quenching process later. With 45 minutes left in the competition, Alex was the first to finish quenching. Faced with the unexpected warping of the blade, he quickly turned on the angle grinder to adjust the details of the blade. After stretching the steel billet and hammering out the blade shape, Mike placed the blade blank under the press again. Before the official quenching, he planned to forge the tang, blade root, one more time. As the countdown was about to end, the three contestants finished quenching one after another. What kind of works will these four bring? Who will be the first to be eliminated? Let's wait and see. Can you twist Damascus steel with your bare hands? This contestant can do it perfectly. As a master bladesmith who outperformed other contestants, the legendary journey of Ben Abbott began with this competition. This was the final battle before entering the finals. Three contestants conducted the strength test at the same time. The first two contestants both performed quite well. When it was Ben's turn, even the judges couldn't help but feel nervous for him. But right after that, with one strike, the knife forged by Ben not only showed no damage at all, but also remained as sharp as ever. Faced with the three powerful contestants, the judges also felt a bit embarrassed. Finally, after some discussion, they made the final decision to eliminate Brent, whose blade was slightly curled. After seeing Brent off, Ben officially welcomed the final of this competition. He would face off against Tom, an old bladesmith with many years of forging experience, in the ultimate showdown. This time, the program team's requirements were that the two contestants return to their respective forging studios, and within the next 5 days, forge a Konda sword on their own, with the blade length controlled between 74 and 79 centimeters, and the blade must be be equipped with a professional Konda hilt guard. After arriving home, Ben did not waste any time and started forging directly. Out of his love for Damascus steel, he first hammered 2 pieces of Damascus steel, one to test the quenching temperature and the other to make the blade. To ensure the quality of the subsequent steel billet, Ben first hammered off a small steel billet to check the grain condition of the steel billet. Then, in response to these problems, he further forged the steel billet. On the other side, as an old bladesmith, Tom was not willing to fall behind. With the help of his professional forging studio, Tom first carefully drew the design drawing of the sword hilt. After solving the problem he thought was the most difficult, in just one day, he made the initial sword billet and polished it meticulously. Then came the production of the handle, because Tom had completed the hilt guard design in the early stage and overcome the most difficult part in advance. So next, he only needed to adjust and fix the hilt guard and install the handle on this basis. But for Ben, who focused on the sword billet in the early stage, the situation was a bit complicated. Based on years of bladesmithing experience, Ben also realized that the hilt guard was the most difficult part. After polishing the quenched blade, he also picked up paper and pen and carefully designed the hilt guard and handle. To present the best effect of the blade, Ben first finely ground the blade. After taking care of the details, Ben began to assemble the hilt guard parts. This was a difficult project. First, he heated the hilt guard part, then welded the hilt guard. Finally, he successfully combined the hilt guard and the handle with a fixed blade. After such a series of tedious operations, a masterpiece regarded as a forged-in-fire classic was completed. As the forging time was coming to an end, an accident happened to Tom. After fixing the handle and the blade, when he was about to inspect the result, he found that the edge of the blade actually had a slight risk of curling. Although it was unexpected, fortunately, there was still time to try to save it through grinding adjustment. After completing the whole process, Tom checked again. All the requirements were completed quite well, which made him breathe a sigh of relief. When the specified time arrived, the two brought their completed Konda swords to the final site. What kind of works will the two bring? Let's wait and see. This is the hardest material to forge in the Forged-in-Fire competition, rocket spring steel. This steel is extremely hard. Its processing difficulty is off the charts. It can truly be called a devilish steel. To test the contestants' forging skills, the program team specially sourced a pile of rocket spring steel. They required the contestants to forge a distinctive short blade, using the Sanmei 3-ply forging technique within 3 hours. As soon as the host gave the order, the contestants sprang into action one after another. However, faced with such solid spring steel, it was impossible to even move it with just one person's strength. To obtain the steel as quickly as possible, the contestants had no choice but to team up in pairs. Clay and Eland formed a team. After placing the spring steel on an open ground, Clay picked up the blowtorch first. The two cooperated with each other. After a shower of sparks, he struck hard with a hammer, and the two successfully obtained the desired steel material. They each put their steel pieces into the furnace for further heating. At the same time, the progress of the team of Josh and Rob was obviously lagging behind. They also used a blowtorch and a power hammer, but since they hadn't added acetylene in the early stage and only used the blowtorch to continuously flame the spring steel, it took them a full half an hour just to cut the material. Watching Clay nearby take out the red-hot steel and place it on the stamping machine to start stamping the steel billet from top to bottom, the two began to feel anxious and hurried to catch up with the progress for the next step. While Josh and Rob were still rushing to speed up, Clay beside them already had a complete knife forging plan. He decided to make a competition chopper. After the red-hot steel billet came out of the furnace, Clay first used the stamping machine to repeatedly stamp and fuse the billet into a square shape. Immediately after, he wrapped 2 pieces of mild steel around the billet and started the Sanmei forging process. Unlike Clay, who pursued speed excessively, Eland chose to work slowly and carefully. The smooth material collection had saved him a lot of time, and at this moment, he only wanted to get a high-quality knife blank. But perhaps due to being too meticulous, an accident occurred unexpectedly. The knife blank was pulled too long. Seeing this scene, Eland had to find a way to remedy it. When Rob was cutting the steel earlier, he had planned to forge a recurved cleaver suitable for chopping. But considering that he had wasted a lot of time on material collection, he decided to speed up the remaining steps. A few minutes later, Rob quickly completed the entire steel billet stamping process. After the billet was fused, Rob began to carry out the Sanmei cladding process on the billet. Compared with Rob, Josh did not have such speed. Not only did the material collection take too long, but forging and fusing the steel billet also consumed a lot of time. He originally wanted to design a cool camping knife, but it would be by no means easy to forge such a knife according to the plan. Within the remaining time, after obtaining the fused and clad Sanmei steel billet, he began to use the stamping machine to lengthen the billet. On the other side, Eland had already started forging the knife shape. He planned to make a jungle short blade. Although he showed off some good forging skills, he did not temper the steel in time during the process. In this way, the final forged knife was likely to have cracks. But watching the countdown approaching, Eland had to proceed to the next step. As time ticked away, Clay also planned to wrap things up. After heat treating the knife blank, he prepared to complete the final quenching. Perhaps because he was the first to finish, he was a bit excited. In the next moment, Clay actually dropped the entire knife into the quenching bucket. Fortunately, the blade did not bend. Just as he was about to call it a day, an unexpected situation arose. He found that there was an obvious San-Mei crack on the blade. The other 3 contestants also successively completed quenching. What kind of works will the contestants bring? Who will be the first to regretfully be eliminated? Let's wait and see.